juncture of the spine and the base of the skull. Immediately to the left of that base, skull examination reveals that the foramen magnum is altered with fractures. That's like important. Michael, the victim, was clearly murdered. Gotta hand it to that one. On a panther, Jesus, well, this person was murdered. Was at the hole in the back of the skull at it. As much as clear, Bianchi was killed by a projectile, entering the back of his skull and exiting through the mouth. To achieve such a path in the cranial cavity would require enormous force. F-O-R-C-E. You have the accent now. Everybody talks like this, right? Where's my Dublin Jackie? Is he in among the deputies? There he is, a good lad from Dublin himself. He'll tell you. Don't they talk funny? They talk normal. Thank you for supporting me on that. Enormous force was very hard with it. More problematic was the amount of relatively significant amount of powder inside the victim's skull, post-filling the projectile path. Do you get that? Post-filling. The projectile goes through and the powder comes after. I can draw conclusions here, but will not. Sergeant Michaels, this is Alan Michaels, brilliant, has reported to me that the crime scene is a large amount of a similar powder right now, mostly in front of the victim's mouth. Here's what it is. We don't know what that material was. Alan said it was about confectioner sugar consistency. And we sent it to Petoskey Crime Lab. And we said, we have to have this immediately. And they're going to have it back to us this afternoon. Earlier this afternoon. And we'll have it for you immediately. What that projectile is made of could be very critical here. All right. That's it. Crime scene. Real quickly, you're going to have these. That's why I'm going through it. It's all here. Paolo Bianchi, this one has a stump for now. This is written by Alan last night. Clearly he was shot. We just can't figure out with what or how. No one, and I mean no one, heard a shot. Yet here's the wound in the back of the skull. Blood filled the mouth. However, no projectile was found inside the skull or in front of the victim. I know you searched the entire stage here. No. There was an amount of white powder found in front of it and in the victim's mouth. We can't figure out what it is. We do, however, believe it's to be a drug. We do not, thank you, Alan. We do not, however, believe it to be a drug. We have sent it to Abrams and Petoskey, he's a brilliant fellow over there for us for high priority analysis. They'll have a report. Victim Andronsky ammo, victim died from a knife wound. It's a high quality knife. Probably made in Europe. The reason Alan says this is that the Europeans are known for favoring knives with 2 sharpened edges. This one has, which was manufacturers unclear, and there are in fact American manufacturers of these type weapons. That is extraordinarily sharp. Obviously, a lot of time was spent sharpening it. Very premeditated. It was buried almost to the hip. Steel blade angled slightly up, and this tells us that whoever did it held a blow against us. Sciammo would have died almost instantly. She did she? Very little blood from victim that seemed was caused by the extreme sharpness of the blade. You'll have your own opinion on this. Here's what's happened. We have the newspapers are coming as we speak. The world press is coming to this, obviously for the importance of the 2 people who died here. I have never needed deputies' help more. I am totally confused on this. Some of you have asked great questions. We'll get into those, and I want to talk about this very briefly. They did not die simultaneously. Remember, that's important. Somebody, one of the deputies here said to me last night, there have to be 2 murders because Andromeda died. Bianchi falls down at my feet. I'm looking at him, and I hear a second scream, and I look up, and there's Andromeda falling down. I would say, 3 seconds later? It was not simultaneous. That could be important. If it was simultaneous, we have to have 2. All of those people who were sent out as suspects were behind that table. So when Andromeda was stabbed, it was by one of those people who seized it, I believe, as a crime of opportunity. This was both premeditated and sudden. Somebody sharpened that knife to a fairly well before they got here, and then seized that moment of total confusion on the stage to do their dastardly work. So we have somebody here who is very cool, gambling is clearly a case. We've got to find out what possibly could have created that sort of force and what that projectile was made of. Now, here's the way to work. In my experience as a detective, starting in Dublin and now in America for many years, I have found that an innocent person will tell you the truth as they know it. If you get two stories here who conflict, that may not mean they're lying. That means they saw something different or remember it differently. The guilty party will just about always lie. So what I want you to do in your groups is to ask the same question of each of them, bump stories, and keep bumping stories. We do not have time for you to be diplomatic. I want you to go right after these suspects out there. Tear into them. Alan and I will both be out there. You have questions. Alan has a list of questions. Why don't you go ahead and tell him, Alan? We worked up a series of questions that he would like you to ask. Mark these in case you don't have them down. And then we'll talk about some other questions you might have now. Go ahead, Alan.
All right, so you want to ask, who among the suspects
Thank you, Alan.
do you know previous to this weekend? So find out if any of them knew each other and if there was a relationship there. Ask them if they noticed anything on the stage at the time of the murders, any suspicious movements, any suspicious acts. Ask them where they were standing, by whom, make sure that all lines up, no conflicts. Ask them if they have any familiarity with firearms, even if a gunshot wasn't heard. We've seen a projectile was the cause of this for poor Paulo. Ask them when they arrived on the island. Let's get their stories straight. Ask them what their stand on legalized gambling is on Mackinac Island.
Can you write all this down for us, please?
We will. We'll be there to help you. But the other thing is, this legalized gambling is quite a question. Several of you asked me, are we dealing with a fashion murder here? Are we dealing with a legalized gambling murder? Or are we dealing with both? The answer is, at this point, I don't know. But I would rule either or both out. At all.
Police corruption.
Zero chance, and I believe we can prove that right now by arresting you. Go ahead, Ed. My father used to say that a fellow like that was a sass-ass. Don't give your sass-ass talk, Michael, he'd say. Go ahead.
So now ask them how well did they know both of the victims, and there have been rumors going on about a romantic link, perhaps. Ask them if they know anything about that. And for the short fella, Ainsley, and the tall fellow, Throckmorton, ask them why they're here. Why are they here in the first place? Who invited you? All right. So those are some questions that should help get to the bottom.
We see all the others, that's clear. Ainsley is a big shot in Chicago. Knows everybody, he knows a political fixture, he knows everybody in the underground there, everybody in the overground. He is Mr. Chicago behind the scenes. Why is he here? I think I know what he's going to say, but ask. And then don't be afraid to ask them the same question every 5 minutes or 7 minutes. Because you'll see they might change. That the way to find a guilty one is bump his or her story against everybody else. Somewhere there'll be a gap. That's where it is. When you get multiples right in that same conflict, you'll have it. Now, do you have questions before we get out there and get at it? Ask questions now. And don't forget, this afternoon, we'll have, I'm sure, the crime scene report, the material from Petoskey, as well as a further briefing. And you'll also be questioning these suspects this afternoon. We're going to stay on this. If somebody had a question, stand up. Go ahead.
Yes, we've all heard the rumors that the mafia has an interest in the island, so I'm going to ask you again, is there a connection between the gambling and these murders?
You were the first one to ask me that last night. And the question is, we have all heard that the mafia has an interest in gambling on the island, legalized gambling. If they legalize gambling here, and as you know, I am the leader of the opposition to legalized gambling. But if they legalize gambling on this island, it will decimate the people of this island. These are simple people who live here. And you put a major casino in this hotel, and they will lose their homes the first night. And so I don't want it. I don't think any judgment on gambling morally. I like to have a poker game with my friends as much as the next man, but legalizing it here and putting it in a casino is wrong for the island. The mafia and others in Canada and the United States are very, very interested you say, is there a connection? I would say there could be. My answer still is at this point, I don't know. But there very well could be. The two people who were killed on stage are both icons in the fashion business. Androna Schiamo and Paolo Bianchi. But that doesn't get us out of the woods on the gambling question at all. Other questions? Yeah.
Yes, how long will the suspects be available for questioning? It's now about 10:15.
You'll have as long as you want them, probably until about lunch, until you're done questioning. If they get up and try to leave on you early, just let me know. They are there to answer your questions. You are legalized deputies. Anybody else? Yes? There were no fingerprints on the knife, I don't think, were there?
No, no fingerprints.
No. It would have been in the report. I would take that as no fingerprints on the knife, which simply means probably gloves. The suspects, Alan, did you stand a pat down on all the suspects?
Yes.
Did you personally pat down any of the women?
Personally. Twice.
Twice the women. He wanted to make doubly sure with the women. Yes, they were. There was nothing, no, because there was nothing suspicious found.
Detective Rielly and
Alan?
Alan, where will both of you be?
We'll be out there right down in the Power Witches.
In the park.
Come and get me if you have any problem. If anybody refuses to answer your questions or gets evasive, come and get me. Or report anything you get to me immediately. You'll come out of this with a lot more information than you have now. Any other questions? Is that it then? One more. Yeah. What? A white shirt? Yes. Yes, and you're under arrest too, is that right? Well, there's a question, obviously, were all the suspects wearing gloves? I would suspect not, but ask them. Yeah. They're giving out 2 reports per team. So, of the crime scene and the autopsy. Take a look at that and then get at them. We'll be out there.